Today I'll be reviewing this movie. It's dropped on Netflix called The Courier, and this movie it is in Spanish, and this movie it is actually released by Universal Studio, and it is now available on Netflix. And this is a kind of like a crime thriller, and this movie it is based on a true event. And this movie centers around, we see Ivan. He is this, he works in this place, and he wants to go to the top. When he accidentally come across with this guy, he kind of follows him to his home, and he kind of find out that this guy, he is actually money laundering guy. He basically follows him, and he kind of gets into this money laundering business basically from this lady in this movie. And from there we see how he become like he was really good in this, he was going top and top. Then after a time we see he get kind of like caught by a cop. This police comes to him and tell him, hey, you have to give us information about this money laundering happening, otherwise you are going to jail. So we see in this movie how basically in this movie we see this guy, how he goes to this top of this real estate bubble, after arrival of euro in Spain. And I thought overall this movie story is actually quite interesting. Although this movie story is nothing new, I think the first act for this movie is quite interesting. Like when he was explaining about the euro, how it got in Spain and how it was ruining everything and how it was changing everything over there. I thought the first act was quite interesting. Middle part it was quite repetitive, especially story wise. Ivan's character, he's not that interesting or that deep. Although I did like all his interaction with his mom and his dad, those part I really liked. However, overall Ivan is really not that interesting character. Overall this movie story building is really very repetitive. Especially all the money laundering, it was repetitive scene. Honestly, you feel like you are watching same thing over and over. Although there is some side character comes and go, but they don't have a depth. Like none of these people are in this movie. Like you don't know anything about them. Like none of them has any depth or any story arc, which was quite frustrating when I was watching. However, the way the last act for this movie was a little confusing. I was like, whoa, what is going on? Especially once this cop people comes to him, like this police, and I was like, how did they get all this information about him? He was about to go to jail and everything. I was like, wow. And how it's still it was okay. I think the first act and the middle act for this movie is actually quite good. Like the setup for this movie is actually quite good. However, the way it ends and everything, I didn't like it that much. Overall, I will say this movie is okay time watching. It isn't that it's not bad, but it isn't very interesting either. I will say about this movie, first act is quite interesting. I did like some of his interaction with his father and his mother and this girl he met. And also I liked some of his interaction with this lady. He was working with her. She was also interesting, I will say. Overall, I thought this movie was okay. Like the story was really, I guess because this movie started the weird way, I guess you know where the story was going. Overall, I say it is okay watch for me. This is still based on a true story. So I thought it is somewhat interesting, but I have seen this kind of movie before. I think it is just an okay movie. It isn't bad, but isn't great. I think just okay time watching. And that's my thought on this. Let me know in the comment what do you think about this movie. If you enjoyed this review, don't watch another reviews and other movies. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Until I see you next time, please take